The 2025 NFL regular season has concluded. Next phase is the playoffs, which start on Saturday. But before we start this show, there is a ton to discuss. So let's start the intro. Let's get the intro. Let's get this show started. Let's get this going. Oh man, 18 weeks. 18 weeks straight I have done this show. Did I think it was possible? Absolutely. But the way the world is today, sometimes you say to yourself, how does this happen? How does the time fly so fast? We're already in 2026. Happy New Year to all the listeners on this show. And before I continue, I want to thank all the supporters of this show. Whether you listen to all 18 weeks, you listen to 2 weeks, whether you listen to 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. Driving to work, on the transit somewhere in the world, cooking at home, or just listening to it at work, or you took this episode and passed it on to a friend or a colleague. All these things, a plethora of appreciation that I have for everybody that has taken the time to listen to this podcast, shown their support, given their opinions, respectful opinions, honest opinions, even a little harsh opinions, ideas, all that stuff. I appreciate that because those that have stuck to this understand what I do and how I do this and the love and the passion I have for this. So thank you all. So now let me get to start this crazy week 18. Now to start week 18 of this show, pick six, of course, as always, the usual 6 games. I'm not going to do 6 games. I'm only going to focus on 3 games that had a impact on positioning in the playoffs. Because a lot of teams sat quarterbacks and this and that and whatever. But before I go with this show, I want to say something, and I'm gonna say this because I don't like it. It's just as a fan. Now, Josh Allen decides to come on for 1 snap to continue his streak. I don't like that. I think the NFL should cut that out. I think the NFL should say, look, if you don't play at least a quarter, you don't keep your streak. Like, that was so cornballish, to be honest with you. I mean, Mitch Trubisky absolutely destroyed the Jets. The Jets, that's a whole different conversation, which I'll talk about later on. But that was horrible. Like, the fans are coming to watch the game. It's the last game in Highmark Stadium because they're done. They're not playing any home games in the playoffs. And he does 1 little snap. Like, why? That's a disrespect to the fans. He shouldn't have played at all. He should have been in street clothes. That was horse crap. So, like, the NFL needs to focus on that. If you want something to continue and to be like absolutely like legit, let's actually play some snaps and then make it official instead of playing that stuff. I could do that in Madden. That's something you do in Madden. Like, relax. Anyways, now I want you guys to listen to this clip from JJ McCarthy, and then I'm going to talk about this because I thought this was interesting. We'll be back.
Do you feel like you earned the right to be the starter going next year? Where do you think you stand with the organization at this point?
After today, maybe, but tomorrow there's nothing promised. The next day there's nothing promised. That's something I take very seriously. It's not something that you buy and you get for the rest of your life. You rent it, you lease it every single day, and I'm just, trying to make daily deposits to make sure, I'm in this house for a long time.
So that was JJ McCarthy post game, the 13-3 win over Green Bay. Team finishes 9-8. If all the chips fell, record wise, without all this seeding stuff and all that, the Vikings would make the playoffs. They finished 9-8. We all know what happened with Carolina and Tampa Bay and all that crap, but it doesn't matter. Minnesota didn't do what they were supposed to do, and they fell short because they just didn't do the right thing. And it starts off, what I said, with the quarterback. I've said this multiple times. You have a star-studded roster. When I say that, you had 2 all-pro receivers, an all-pro tight end, 2 solid running backs, a decent offensive line, finally, and you come with a D-minus quarterback who has been proven to not be reliable in games that are very, very heavily dependent on the pass game. He is not the guy, and it was proven. And then on top of that, he can't stay healthy. Like, what? What was Kevin O'Connell thinking? I'm still dumbfounded by the fact that Kevin O'Connell actually thought, when I realized that they were going to let him start, if you go back to my shows, I said 9-8. I said this team would finish 9-8 at best. You can go back and check at the beginning of the year, episodes 1 or 2 or 3. I said 9-8 at best. This team is going to finish. What did they finish? 9-8. Come on, man. I'm not saying that I am a psychic or a Nostradamus. I'm not any one of those guys. But like, you saw this guy. If you watch college football, sometimes you don't need the NFL experience to tell you the truth. Some guys, they're okay in college and they flop in the NFL. There are some guys, they become Tom Brady, or John Elway, or Randall Cunningham, classic Randall, Michael Vick. Like, those guys are an elite level. This guy is a conventional, keep it safe type of quarterback. That is not going to win games in the NFL. Even Tua would have been a better fit for the Vikings. I'm telling you, Tua could throw the ball. He's erratic, but he could throw. But he can't stay healthy either. That's why Miami's going to move on from him. Minnesota fumbled this season. They threw this season away, and it's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. J.J. McCarthy was honest. He knows he's got a lot of work to do. It's not just the physical attributes, it's the mental part too. Because he's got to stay healthy if he wants to remain in this league. For whether it's Minnesota, whether it's Chicago, LA, or even in any other league, XFL or whatever league he might end up in, AFL, CFL, indoor football, arena league, whatever. If he wants to continue playing professional football, the man's got to stay healthy. So that's all I'm going to say. But before I do my first game of the night, I have to do this game because I watched this game from the ending of the second quarter right to the end. And I want you all to listen to the sequence of clips. These sound bites, you could call them whatever, were the standard, they were the important pieces of this game. If you're a football fan, you were very, very impressed with what you saw. For the last game of the season, this was the last regular season game of the season. It finished off exactly the way it was supposed to. The NFL cashed in on this. But these sequence of sound bites, which I saw live, are classic. If you're a football fan and you're not a mark or just an idiot who just believes in whatever foolish you want to believe in, or you just want to talk crap on your podcast, this is what NFL football is supposed to be, minus any controversial calls or incompetency by the officials. So listen to these sound bites, and then I'm going to talk about this game.
3rd and 4. Steelers bring 4. Highsmith is there. Jackson got away. Now reloads and throws to Flowers downfield. He's got it for a touchdown! Will range again. Play clock running. Rodgers throwing in the middle. It's Freiermuth. 1st and goal, Pittsburgh at the 6. Valdez Scantling, bottom of the screen. It's Gainwell running right, trying to get to the corner. In for the touchdown!
Still shotgun.
3rd and 1. Fake to Henry Jackson. Shot downfield. Zay Flowers again. Zay Flowers inside the 20. He's going to go. There is a flag on the far side of the field. Rodgers protected. Throws to Austin for the touchdown. The extra point from Boswell. Twisting, no good, no good. He missed the extra point. He had not. It's 4th and 7. Season on the line. Jackson lofting it up, and it is held on to by Isaiah Likely. And the snap good. Hold it. The kick is no good. It is wide right. And the Steelers are the champions of the North.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I sat there and I watched this game last night. I watched from the ending of the second quarter right to the end. And usually I break down stats, numbers, all that. The Steelers won 26-24. Divisional game, it came down to this for the division after the blunder they left in Cleveland last week. Aaron Rodgers had one touchdown pass in that game, which you heard in that soundbite, which was very, very crucial. He threw the ball 47 times, 31 for 47. He had some Aaron Rodgers moments, 294. Lamar Jackson had some moments too where he just escaped the pocket like nobody's business and threw some classics, two of them to save Flowers. Zay Flowers was standing in an island by himself. He could have went back and forth on a Carnival cruise ship, Royal Caribbean or whatever. He could have did a couple of trips back and forth. He was not being seen nor touched. Derrick Henry was 20 rushes, 126. This was a classic divisional matchup. And I always say division games when they matter. When they matter, not when you sit quarterbacks, certain teams, I won't call their name. Well, actually I am. Green Bay, Buffalo, sitting your quarterbacks. Fans are paying their money and you're sitting your quarterbacks, throwing away games. I don't like the 17-game season. I think they should go back to 16 and change things up so you get guys to play every game. But anyways, this was a classic divisional game that had both teams playing. Everybody did their. Baltimore needs a pass rush. And I'll tell you right now, Pittsburgh, they need to work on that secondary. Pittsburgh's secondary help is desperately needed, and Baltimore desperately needs a pass rush. But at the end, this was a classic divisional game, and it left me like, wow. If we can get playoff games like this, well, this was a playoff game. We get playoff games like this, wow. Well, the NFL playoffs is always like this. The NFL regular season has games like this. Is why you don't make regular season predictions. You got these erratic, incompetent people who come on TV, some of them who know nothing about football, some of them that are so caught up in their ego, make these predictions and think that they're like some type of god or something. Like, I would have never predicted this. Like, a lot of people expected Baltimore to walk away with this division or kind of have a, 11-win season, say 11-6. But it wasn't like that. Baltimore finishes off the season 8-9. They're out of the playoffs, and Pittsburgh's going to host Houston next week in a playoff game. So that's just one of those things. But wow, that's all I have to say. Next order of business, San Francisco and Seattle. Seattle wins this game. They clinch a bye in the first round. Sam Darnold, for the second straight year, wins 14 games, which is crazy. And, they also win the division title. They beat San Francisco 13-3. Like, Santa Claus and the boys had nothing to show for. Santa Claus could not give a gift in this game. Well, he did. He gave the win. But he just wasn't, this wasn't a Santa Claus performance. But I expect Santa Claus in Philadelphia to do what he does, because he's going to have a very interesting game in Philly. But we'll see how that goes. But Santa Claus just didn't look too good. I mean, Brock Purdy looked like a 7th-round quarterback who was about to get cut in that game. He was 19 for 27, 127, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, got sacked 3 times. One of those sacks, I thought he was going to die. Like, oh my gosh, like, come on. McCaffrey only ran for 20. That Seattle defense, excuse me, sorry guys. That Seattle defense, underrated. So keep your eyes out for Seattle in the playoffs. They are going to be something. And it's interesting because, my apologies, oh my gosh. Sam Darnold. So I was looking at a comparison stat chart here for him from last season and this season. So records are identical, 14-3. Passing yards are a little down. He goes from 4.319 to 4.048. Touchdowns completely dropped. He dropped by 10, 35-25 this year. 12 interceptions, 14 this year. Passer rating of 102.5 last year. This year, 99.1. So, I mean, because you have a good defense and a lot of great gadget plays on offense, of course, a great rushing attack, he doesn't have to do as much. But if Sam Darnold wants to win a Super Bowl, because they have all these predictions and theories that they've been talking about, he's going to have to throw that ball. He can't. This is okay, but in the playoffs, Sam Darnold's going to have to show us something. He can't be like that Rams game last year, because otherwise he'll be out. There will be an upset. And this playoffs is wide open. I don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl. I'll give some first-round insights, just my opinions, my honest opinions, but this is going to be wide open. So anything can happen. It just smells like an upset of upsets for this NFL playoffs. The next game, Carolina and Tampa Bay. What a mess. What a division that's just a mess. Like, you reward incompetence. You reward, like, just complete, like, bottom grade. This was it. Like, I just don't believe a team with a losing record should get into the playoffs. But that's a whole different conversation for another day. But Carolina had 2 opportunities to win this game, and both times they lost it. So Tampa goes out and wins this game 16-14. And you're thinking, okay, they win the South. But then I hear and I read that if Atlanta beats New Orleans, Tampa gets in. I don't know how the numbers work, but Atlanta went out. Classic Kurt went out and won the game, which eliminated Tampa Bay, who beat Carolina. So now Carolina gets a division. You have 3 teams at 8-9 in that division. Classic Kurt has been playing decent the last few weeks. Baker's been up and down, but he won the game he had to win. You look at Atlanta's downfall, the game against the Jets. Atlanta beats the Jets. They're in the playoffs. The Jets is the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. So this is just crazy how this just all turns upside down. And it's just ugly, this whole NFC South. But now Carolina's going to be hosting the Rams. The Rams are going to get the same treatment that the Vikings got last year. You remember Minnesota had to go to the Rams for a game there? although they had a great record of 14-13, the Rams are going to get the same treatment that Minnesota got last year. And don't be surprised if Carolina wins that game, because karma seems to always come right back to hit a team. All this great stuff that the Rams have done this year, the NFL playoffs is a different season. Don't be surprised if the Panthers win that game. So for that, now I've covered these 3 games that were actually important, where actually teams played. So we have some coaching vacancies. The Giants, the Titans, Falcons, Cardinals, Browns, and Raiders. GM openings are the Dolphins and the Falcons. And my take on this whole firing, of course, Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot were the first 2 fired, of course, after, Arthur Blank gave him a hug after the press conference. I'll tell you, it seems like, and then the next one, Michael Bidwell giving Jonathan Gannon a hug before the game yesterday. I'm telling you, man, the hugs of death. Every time I see a coach get hugged in a video yesterday, they got fired. Like, oh. Kevin Stefanski, of course, one of them getting fired from Cleveland, 2 coach of the years. Doesn't matter. So, what have you done lately? That is the thing that the NFL always talks about, NFL always speaks. Now, when I come back from the break, I'm going to talk about this coaching thing extensively, because it's very intriguing and very interesting to me. So we'll be back on the Pick 6. So, so the coaching carousel begins, and it's going to be interesting. A name that I have out there is, of course, Brian Flores. I think he should be looked at for a job. I think he's more valuable and more credible than Kevin Stefanski. I don't care what people say. I think Brian Flores brings that energy, that toughness. He brings a level of commitment that, we've seen from him, as you can see, as defensive coordinator of the Vikings. I'm hoping that my squad resigns him, but if he can get a head coaching job, I'll be happy for him too, because he deserves it. All these guys that got fired today, Pete Carroll, it's time to retire. Jonathan Gannon, he's more of a coordinator. Stefanski, thanks for coming out. Raheem Morris, somewhere else is better for you. I think Raheem Morris will be a great coach somewhere. There's just a plethora of things that I could go on and on and on about, but I'm not going to, but I'll keep it basic. Now, everybody wanted Aaron Glenn to get fired. I'm glad he didn't get fired. I don't care how bad the Jets were. I've seen coaches do 10 times worse. I think the Raiders are the most pathetic organization in sports, and they continue to fire and pay coaches. So Aaron Glenn remaining as head coach right now, I think is a good thing. Todd Bowles, I love that too. I'm glad that he's still the coach of Tampa. So, and if you look at Zach Taylor, whatever, come on. The team sucks and they're cheap. They don't spend no money on their offensive line. Their defense is atrocious. So, they put all their money on 4 players. So that's what you get. That's why you're not in the playoffs. And as long as they continue to do that, they're going to go where they are. That's why I'm hoping that Joe Burrow asks for a trade and Minnesota scoops him. Minnesota, if you're listening, I know somebody's hearing this, you need a quarterback. Joe Burrow. So far, if you look at this, the table for the draft, number 1 is going to be the Raiders. They're going to ruin somebody's career again. The Jets, they're going to ruin somebody's career. Arizona, who knows what direction they want to go. Tennessee, let's see what they do at 4. The Giants, let's see what they're going to do. Cleveland, they've had, 45 or 46 quarterbacks in how many years starting? Oh, wow. Washington, after that great year last year, they just have a stumble year. It happens. It's a rookie thing. New Orleans, who knows where they're going to go? KC at number 9. Again, let's go to predictions here. Who would have told you, or anybody, and you're all lying if you say this, that KC at 6-11 will be drafting in the top 10 in the NFL draft? Most of us had KC at least in the playoffs. Maybe not the Super Bowl, but in a playoff position. I didn't do any predictions, but I saw them, okay, they'll make the playoffs. They got a decent roster. They got Andy Reid. They got Patrick Mahomes. They got some weapons on the receiver side. But 6-11 in their draft, they're going to be drafting 9. And then, of course, Cincinnati, they're drafting 10. They're going to ruin somebody else's career because they don't know how to draft and they're cheap. So that's the current roster. Sorry, the current NFL draft order. Raiders at 1, Jets at 2, Zono at 3, Titans at 4, Giants at 5, Cleveland at 6, Washington at 7, Orleans at 8, KC at 9, and Bengals at 10. That's the draft order as we speak. So it's going to be interesting. Mike Tomlin, ladies and gentlemen, survives another year. No, he's keeping his job. I know you guys out there that support him, continue to support him, and there's a lot of haters who don't like him because he's a black man. I've read some of the social media comments. Mike Tomlin's not going anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. He's staying. Thank you very much, and I'm glad he's staying. Sean McDermott, I don't know. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. But this one, I think it's a joke. So there is a report that Mike McDaniel will be a part of the interview process for the next general manager of the Miami Dolphins. What? What? Mike McDaniel is going to be a part of the interview process for the next general manager. What? This is why Miami is not going to do absolutely nothing. How are you letting this guy even involved? He's got to have some type of like stuff on upper management to even keep a job and to be a part of the GM process. Isn't that the GM supposed to pick the coach? Like Miami, you could trade Tua, you could trade Ryan Fitzpatrick, you could trade Dan Marino, you could trade Dan Fouts, you could trade Randall Cunningham, whoever, you ain't winning. Until that management changes, that ownership changes, and Mike McDaniel gets his ass fired, excuse my language, that team ain't going nowhere. Mike McDaniel, part of the interview process for the GM? What? Please, man, come on. This is worse than wrestling. It sure and really is worse than professional wrestling. Trayvon Diggs. Let me talk about this. So December 30th, he gets released. He gets released from the Cowboys. The 31st, he gets picked up by Green Bay. And I can tell you guys, I watched the Vikings game, and he was very slow. I mean, yeah, it's his first game, but he was very slow off the blocks. And I don't think he's engaged in football the way most people understand. When I say engaged, it is not a football thing. This is a sport thing. This is a coaching thing. When you coach and you're not just an elite coach, but a coach who cares and is focused on the tactical things of sports and the discipline part, you know when the player's engaged. He's not engaged. He's just there playing, hopefully to collect a check. You see, a lot of these young guys, they're not engaged in the game. There's a lot of guys that love the game for what it gives them, and there's a lot of guys that love the game because the game gives them a sense of joy and pride and energy that they can go out and do the great things that they've always wanted to do. Excuse me, to do. He's not in, he's there to play. Now, if he hears this and he takes it personal, I don't care. The tape doesn't lie. The tape doesn't lie, and then the reports Dallas released him because he was late for practices and he wanted to do whatever. Let me tell you something. When the tolerance doesn't match production in professional sports, they will release your butt in a heartbeat. When he was an all-pro and he was doing whatever he wanted to do inside and outside the field, off the field, everything was okay. I'm sure he was showing up late. But because he was producing and he was under the other coach, Mike McCarthy, things were okay. But Schottenheimer is not having it. He's doing what a coach is supposed to do. And hopefully Jerry is not being a meddler and allowing this guy to do what he's doing. You cannot let play coming in late. What is this, Keon Coleman syndrome? You got to be there on time. And when on time is, when they say 10 o'clock is the meeting, you're supposed to be there at 9:30, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just giving you guys a heads up as a former coach myself. If I tell you practice is at 9 o'clock, what time do you think you're supposed to be there? Not 9 o'clock sitting down, 8:30. Start rolling in. Otherwise, go play for somebody else. Go do something else. It's okay if this is, sometimes certain environments are not for you. Trayvon Diggs, I'm just being real. Trayvon Diggs' environment right now needs to be focusing on the offseason. I don't think anybody should have signed him. I think he should have been left alone, stay as a free agent, get the wheels going, and get ready for his brother. All the stuff going on with his brother could still go out and put 1,000 yards on his resume. You're supposed to, when you're a professional athlete, you got to update your resume every season. Nobody cares about what you did 5 years ago. Nobody wants Stephon Diggs' resume from Minnesota or the Minneapolis Miracle. They want Stephon Diggs now. He put up 1,000 yards despite everything that's happened to him. And you know something else about Stephon Diggs that I've been defending about him because I love Stephon Diggs as a player? I don't care about the personal life. The personal life, that's a whole different story. If you guys want personal life Stephon Diggs, go listen to these marks on their stupid podcast and their stupid shit. Excuse my language again. On YouTube. I don't care about that. But as Stephon Diggs, the athlete, this guy is always ready to go. He's always ready to go. Despite everything around him, he's always ready to go. And again, puts up another 1,000-yard season. So congratulations to him. His brother needs to sit down and watch what he's doing. You know, I'm telling you guys, look at Myles Garrett. Sacks record, despite everything going on in Cleveland. There's a lot of magical moments. And then, of course, you know, Bryce Young, people saying, oh, I've heard some comments about Bryce Young is too small to be a quarterback. He's this, he's that. Bryce Young comes in and is always ready to play football. No excuses, no this, no that. He's always ready to play. I've heard certain people say, oh, he's too small to be an NFL quarterback. There's a lot of guys that are too dumb to be an NFL quarterback. There's a lot of guys that are not ready to be an NFL quarterback. There's a lot of guys that are not supposed to be in the league that are NFL quarterbacks. You know, it's always certain guys that get picked on. Like I said, people don't have the same energy for him that they have for J.J. McCarthy. Because J.J. McCarthy won a national championship basically doing absolutely nothing statistically. But you look at Bryce Young's stats in college, they were phenomenal. I'm not saying the college stats always translate into NFL success, but at the end of the day, he did something. Yes, he's 8-9. He got into the playoffs, but you know why I was cheering for this kid? Because some of the nasty things the media has been saying about him, you know, especially even him as a young black quarterback. You don't hear anything with him. You don't hear controversy with him. Guy gets it done. He does to the just like I said with just previously about Diggs. All the controversy with him, he still goes in, gets the work done, not late for practice, showing up not on time, showing up early, despite everything, and doing what he needs to do to win. You know, so when we go after some of these guys, just like with Shedeur, and everybody's saying, well, I personally think Shedeur should get an opportunity to battle for the spot next year. I think he should. Bring back Deshaun, because you're paying him whatever you're paying him. Bring back Shedeur and draft whoever, because they're drafting bottom, so I don't know what they're going to do with that pick. But it's going to be interesting how this offseason plays out. But before the offseason plays out, because the offseason is not here yet, we got to talk about NFL playoffs. And do I have any predictions? Of course. I have some fair predictions. I don't have predictions to win the Super Bowl, but I have first round predictions. And I look at it like this, and I'm looking at Houston and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh at home, Houston. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Houston because Houston actually has a good defense. Pittsburgh is kind of hurting on that secondary. The Chargers, the Chargers going to New England. I'll be honest, I think the Chargers are going to be packing their bags. The Chargers are going to be packing their bags. I think it's going to be New England. New England's got something. If it was Buffalo, it'd be a different decision. But I don't trust the Chargers. Justin Herbert hasn't been consistent for a while. New England gets that win. Buffalo at Jacksonville. Everybody's like, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're going to do so many things. Look at them. Liam Cohen has done a great thing. He's such a great coach. He's rejuvenated Trevor Lawrence. Whatever. Experience, Josh Allen. They find a way. They're grinders. Buffalo wins. Goodbye, Jacksonville. The Rams are going to be visiting the Panthers, just like Minnesota last year had to go visit you guys after finishing 14-3. What goes around comes around, and I'm a Bryce Young fan. I'm cheering for this kid. Bryce Young finds a way to win. I think he'll win. Maybe he'll be 20-19, 20-17, 24-20. I'm picking Carolina, the upset win. Santa Claus goes to Philadelphia. Philadelphia with all the controversy, all the craziness going on. Coach being looked at as a goon, looked at as a goof by some of the players. Santa Claus is always the gift that keeps on giving. Finds ways to win games with injured players. And then, of course, when he gets to the Super Bowl, he finds a way to give the gift. The Lombardi Trophy. Santa Claus's greatest gift is giving the Lombardi Trophy to his opponents. But he hasn't got there yet, so I'm telling you this. This is just my prediction. Santa Claus will beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia with Brock Purdy, Mr. 7th round. Green Bay against Chicago. I don't trust Green Bay at all, man. They just look disoriented. There's a lot of inconsistency. Trayvon Diggs is not a good signing. Players are just, I don't know what's going on in Green Bay. I just don't trust them. I like what Ben Johnson is doing. I got to go with the Bears. I think the Bears will win. So those are my predictions. That's what I believe. And that's what it is, folks. And ladies and gentlemen, again, the regular season is over, but we are now heading into the playoffs, and I will continue throughout the playoffs. This show is going to be going right to the end, right to Santa Clara, man. So that's what's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is week 18, pick 6. And again, thank you all that have been listening to this show from day one, or have been listening to the show periodically, or have listened to us a segment, doing whatever. It doesn't matter. So thank you all again. This is Pick 6. I'm signing out. I'm out. Playoff time is next.